What up, Misfits? Welcome to the Misfit Heroes podcast. My name is Chris, and together we are going on a journey. Now, Misfits, this show is a showcase of people trying to change their community for the better. But that doesn't mean just humans. Did you know that in 2019, the New York Times reported there were over 200,000 service dogs in the United States? That's up from a mere 2,400 in 2014. No bones about it, this industry is clearly growing. Sorry, I like dog puns. My guest tonight is Kyria Whisenhunt, the executive director of Paws for People, a North Carolina-based nonprofit that educates and empowers people to utilize assistance dogs to transform their lives. We discuss how she started the organization at just 12 years old, the surprising training program she coordinated using prison inmates to train support animals, the difference between a service dog and emotional support animal, and use cases for service dogs that you may not have known about. All right, enough of me barking at you. Let's learn something. I did it again. Misfits, please welcome Kyria Whisenhunt.
Playing the Misfit Heroes podcast.
Kyria, welcome to the Misfit Heroes podcast. I am very excited to talk to you. I've been checking you out, and I think what you're doing is amazing, helping people with service animals that are changing their lives and empowering them. I think it's just a great mission that you guys have. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. So I'm sure this is probably an easy answer. I'm going to start it off with a real good one. So are you a dog person or a cat person, and why? And go.
I am very strongly a dog person. Right. And why? I think that they're the best animals that there are, and they understand so much about us more than we have even learned how to harness. So that would be my why.
I agree. Nothing against cats, but they just don't like me for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Me either.
Well, I've been checking out Paws for People's website. Did I read correctly online? Did you start this organization at 12 years old?
I am credited with starting the organization when I was 12. I will tell you that my passion did start when I was about 10 and finally earned my first dog. My father, Terry, whom I still have the pleasure of working with, was the brains behind the operation that a 12-year-old couldn't be, the entrepreneurial spirit, if you will. And now I think we share that entrepreneurial spirit pretty 50-50. So he and I worked together, and as a child, he took care of all the business aspects. And then as I've grown up, I've started to take some of that over as well.
That's some ambition, I've had trouble just potty training my dogs, much less training them to work somebody else. So
I hear that, yeah.
Are you one of those people that's like a pet whisperer or something like that, or?
I have a knack for it. It came somewhat naturally. Also, the first dog I got was, I like to give people the analogy of like Marley and Me, the movie, Hell on Wheels. And so I had to learn a lot. So it was kind of trial by fire and like start the hardest and then it's coasting from there. So life just kind of helped me learn how to do it.
Well, that's awesome. I definitely cried during that movie. So,
Yes, as well.
Well, tell me about Paws for People. What do you guys do and what are you all trying to accomplish?
Sure. So our mission is educating and empowering people to utilize assistance dogs to transform their lives. And that's very broad and it means a lot of things. So ultimately, we are finding clients whose lives are affected by their disabilities and challenges and custom training dogs to help mitigate the challenges that they're experiencing and help them live a more typical and fulfilled and independent life. That looks very different for everyone. And then every aspect of how we train the dogs is actually rehabilitative in and of itself and or educational. So we've kind of built the program that every step the dogs take is helping, not just when they are done, if you will. So we're really proud of that.
I noticed a lot of things about what was going on. I've been checking you guys out a lot. You're now actually offering a minor at UNC Wilmington. Is that right?
That is right. So we're actually in our 10th academic year with our partnership with UNCW. And over last year, we went through the whole process that it is now a minor in undergraduate studies. So our courses include 5 courses all about service and facility dogs. And then students also choose a related elective to complete their minor. So it's really cool because it allows students to not maybe switch their interest or their career field to our very small niche industry, but find ways that this industry is going to apply in especially the human service related fields that they were already pursuing.
Yeah, that's really cool. You know, what I love about that is that you're bringing others into your world of the service dogs and everything simply by using your passion, you know? But for people that are also trying to create a community like that, like you have, you know, how important has it been for you to sort of expand on your work? I mean, I don't know if when you started training dogs, did you think that you wanted to train other people along with those dogs?
It was so much simpler, obviously, as you can imagine, being 12, what the goals were and what the vision was so much simpler. And I think if I'm looking back at anything and proud of how it's evolved, it's that we have been able to be adaptive and stay kind of limber and adjust to opportunities and potential partnerships and relationships that come our way and think outside the box. And some of them have worked and some of them haven't, but by no means, I listened to your episode a few episodes ago about like starting with a business plan and doing the research. And as with a lot of evolutionary nonprofits, that's not how it started, but that's how it's going now. So it's worked out well, and it's evolved very much so to be more community related and to involve so many different demographics.
Yeah, I feel like that's sort of commonplace. Everybody says, "Oh yeah, you plan everything right from the start,"
Right.
and then it never works out.
Doesn't go by the book.
Never, never.
No.
So let's talk about these dogs. You know, most people have seen service dogs. They're helping people with maybe vision disabilities or some other type of physical disability. What are some of the lesser known reasons that you guys, or use cases for support animals?
Yes. So one thing that we're really passionate about is helping people understand the difference between service dogs and other types of dogs you might hear thrown around, like therapy dogs or emotional support dogs. So what makes service dogs different and kind of the top tier in this industry, if you will, is that they legally have public access, which means they can accompany their user in public. And in order to legally be able to do that without bending the rules, that is because the dog is trained tasks that mitigate that person's disability. So like you mentioned, we're familiar with seeing maybe a guide dog helping someone with vision impairment because that's actually historically the oldest type of service dog that was pioneered. So it's been around the longest. And then next came people with mobility limitations, maybe people who use wheelchairs, who had the dogs help them with tasks like retrieving items, opening doors, turning on lights. That's something that we also do today. But some of the more unique things that have evolved in our industry over the past 10 years or so are psychiatric service dogs. So those are dogs that are trained tasks to help people who are experiencing symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder or having experienced trauma. We also do some cool things like diabetic alert dogs who alert people to dangerous blood sugar levels, allergen detection dogs who alert people to dangerous trace amounts of allergens like latex, peanuts, tree nuts, and then children with autism who need some behavior interruption and help with integration and educational opportunities. So those are some of the things I think come to mind with lesser known uses.
Well, I mean, that's pretty amazing. You know, is it just mainly by scent, I'm assuming, for the diabetes and for the allergens? I mean,
Yep, it's just custom scent training. Exactly.
That's not something that you normally think about.
No, it's not. And what's interesting about the dogs is the dogs' uses are only limited by the ways we've figured out how to teach them what we need. So we're continuing to evolve and try to be creative all the time.
You said that there were psychology uses as well. I mean, what types of uses are there?
What really kicked off that demand is post 9/11 veterans who are really experiencing severe combat-related PTSD, having trouble going out in public, trouble maybe with substance use and abuse, trouble with family relationships due to their experiences in combat. So that's what kind of spurred our industry to figure out how dogs might be able to help. The dogs do things like help interrupt panic attacks and flashbacks when someone is out in public, which obviously can be disruptive behavior in public, and no one wants to go into public knowing that that is likely to happen. Can help with recognizing rising anxiety so that you can use tools from your mental health practitioner to de-escalate that. They can help with interrupting night terrors so that people are having better sleep, getting better sleep, and able to be healthier and better productive. So those are the big things. And then every organization has some maybe niche commands that they also teach their dogs. One of ours is called pay attention. So the dog will, when put on command by the handler, will kind of watch behind them and nudge them if someone is getting close behind them so that the person's startle reflex is not initiated. So they're not worried about maybe having a fight or flight reaction out in public. And what we have found is that we can apply those same skills and uses to people who have experienced a myriad of different types of trauma and life kind of experiences, not just combat related. So we actually are an organization who welcomes clients from civilian backgrounds, first responders. We're very diverse in the way that we will apply psychiatric service dogs because we kind of come from the philosophy that trauma is trauma. And if a service dog might be a tool that can help you, that is very diverse, not just veterans.
That's got to take some type of specialized training, I'm sure, for the dogs. I mean, how exactly do you train someone? How exactly do you train a dog to fight against night terrors, for example?
Just like with people in our educational progression, there's a certain amount of core teaching that has to be done. So if you compare it kind of like to elementary, middle, and high school, our dogs are on a general curriculum, and that's going to teach the dogs the skills that they need to be well-mannered, to be dogs who can eventually function in endless amount of public settings, because that's no easy feat for a dog to do. So that's baseline. And then what we're going to do is once we've identified the client that the dog might be matched with, we're going to customize the commands. So if it is night terrors, like the example that you brought up, we're going to need to have some feedback on what that person's night terror activity looks like. Some people are very silent. Some people thrash. Some people are loud. And then it goes a step further on how they're going to be woken up. Some people should not be woken up by close contact and tactile because they're going to be violent at first before they kind of come to where they really are. So the dog might need to go turn the lights on in the middle of the night, turn on a radio or a sound machine that wakes the person up, pull the covers off. People that are better woken up by tactile, we're going to teach the dog when the person's acting a certain way in their sleep, we need the dog to lay across them or to lick their face. So that's where it gets down to really finite levels of customization. Is it's not just the skill, it's how we want that dog to do that skill for that person. And we in our organization go that extra mile of customizing.
Well, I mean, that's really kind of fascinating to me, the level of depth that is required of these animals and of the training that you get as well. You mentioned earlier about the difference between, service dogs and support animals as well. Is there any reason for the preference in dogs? Like, why not emotional support service boa constrictors or something like that?
Yeah, thankfully we've evolved from that because that has been a problem. Yes. I think the biggest thing that has happened is that laws have started slowly catching up to the fact that in order to meet these requirements that are set, the species has to be trainable, has to be domesticated, and has to be able to have a measured amount of performance. So that has made the law change and actually lists dogs only. No other species, whether wild or domestic, it says. So that happened fairly recently, 2011. So we're really glad for that. But it's that trainability, performance, and then also the fact that they are act relatively well out in public if they are well trained. With some other species, I'm not sure that you could be as confident with that performance criteria.
Yeah, no boa constrictors.
No, we are going to stay away from that. To each their own.
I had a thing about snakes. I guess they. It's like that's not really loving you. That's you're the food. You're the food. I think.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, when I was doing a little research on you, I also came across how you guys train. I heard about something with an inmate training program. Can you speak about that a little bit? I mean, how did that relationship with the Department of Corrections come about? How did that need get discovered?
Sure. So prison training programs for service dog programs is not something that we pioneered. It did start well before us. And so there was kind of pilot programs done, and it was a proven theory, if you will, that it can be mutually beneficial, reduce recidivism, and also provide much needed workforce for training the service dogs to this level of detail. So it's really a win-win. So for us, it started when I was in undergrad at West Virginia University. There was a new facility opening nearby that was actually a federal prison. And because of my work with the campus engagement office for philanthropy with Paws for People, and then the prison was looking to the campus engagement for some like educational classes and opportunities to partner together with the university. And it was kind of mutual contact that brought us together. And they said, well, there's dog training programs at other prisons. Is that something you guys could do? And I remember having that introductory idea meeting and thinking, this is way over our heads. I mean, it's just basically dad and me and some other volunteers and our dogs trying to visit and do good things at that point in time in the community. And did research and found the reduced recidivism and realized that, hey, this could help us train dogs to the next level. Instead of doing solely therapy dogs making visitations, which we were at the time, this could allow us to train dogs to this custom level of service dogs that we were just discussing. So we decided if they were willing to take a risk on it being our first program, we would take a risk on it being their first program, and we figured it out together. So as a sophomore in undergrad, I was going to federal prison 3 times a week, creating through experiential learning a curriculum on how to best convey to people without dog training experience how to get this done. And a few years later, it was kind of a well-oiled machine. So we're really proud of it. It makes a huge difference in the lives of the inmates who participate. It's an honor program. It is very hard to get into. It's very, very rigorous to stay in. They cannot have any behavioral issues anywhere else in the prison in order to stay in the program. They complete a large amount of the same academic curriculum that our UNCW students complete in terms of the Paws for People aspects of that curriculum. They are creative. They are dedicated, and they take on a really big responsibility while they're in prison when they could very easily be doing their time with much less responsibility, if you will. So it makes great dogs, and it's really changing people as well.
That whole concept is kind of fascinating, and it's really cool that you got into the ground floor of it as well. I mean, it sounds like that would make actually like an amazing movie, honestly. Like, what was that what was that first training session like with the inmates and the dogs? I mean,
I think everybody was intimidated. I think I was equally as intimidated as they were, and the dogs were like confused about where they were. Right now, our dogs, I say, people ask me if I'm worried about the dogs being in prison, and my not so joking answer is we have a lot more to worry about with dogs with college students than dogs in the prison. So they're very, very well monitored in the prison, and everything is very scrutinized. So it was very new for everybody. But I think the dogs entering the prison and just doing what dogs do of breaking down barriers and changing the vibe of a room was proof positive in those first prison sessions. No one left without a smile. Everybody's stress lowered, even the general population who weren't working with the dogs. Just the presence of the dogs in a facility or an institution changes the culture and the dynamics. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing the bond and the connection that dogs create with us, or our pets in general, really. But
exactly.
And the calming effect, you would think it's kind of a natural transition for an environment like prison, where it's just a melting pot, almost, kind of in a negative way. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
A lot of anxiety and stress and high stress.
Absolutely.
Level. And I'm sure that would be a tremendous growth aspect for them as well. So, when you give these service dogs to people, who can apply for them, and is there a charge for the training of the dogs? I mean, for the applicants?
Sure, that's a great question. So, my first disclaimer is that every organization does things differently in terms of the questions you just asked. So, I can only speak to our exact process. In terms of who can apply, technically anyone can apply. There is an application online. It gives kind of the eligibility requirements in general terms. It talks about what types of dogs we train and what they can help with. So if those are things someone is seeking, they can kind of determine that that is something that they want to ask for. And then the application process is very long. It's very rigorous. It is built to eliminate people who would not be a good fit by design. You're signing on for at least a 10-year commitment to a living being. So if paperwork is going to intimidate you and hold you back, that's probably a good filter for us to have. We look at it like adopting a child. They're as important to us. They are our family members. So there is a home visit. There are a lot of reference checks. There's a background check. It takes a long time. People really have to kind of choose that they want to stick with it and jump through the wickets. And then our training process is several months long once we accept someone. So rather than coming for maybe 10 days or 2 weeks, like is kind of typical model, our clients come for 3 days per month for at least 4 consecutive months, but our average is 6 consecutive months before they're even eligible to take a dog home on their probationary period. So during that time, we're able to do a lot of that customization that I was speaking about. We're able to see how they work together on a training, and then our trainers have 3 weeks to put training prescriptions in place to tweak things that we saw or to add new things in. And likewise, the client has time to go home, decompress, work with their healthcare providers on anything that may have kind of been exacerbated or come up by coming to our training, because our training is like ripping off a Band-Aid. People have been trying to put a lot of Band-Aids on their lives, and we're ripping them all off and kind of starting a new healing process. So it's very collaborative and it's kind of long-term for everybody. And then in terms of a fee that you discussed, again, that's different everywhere, but and rather than paying a fee to us directly, we have a program we call Pay It Forward, where the clients agree to become an active part of the organization and help to get training made possible for the groups that come after them so that more people's lives can be changed. And they can do that through volunteering their time. They can do it through attending our fundraisers and being spokespeople. They have the option to do their own fundraisers or seek donations directly, but they are not obligated to make any payments to us of any sort.
So, with that being said, it sounds like you're kind of, well, are you training the owners more, or are you training the pets more? Like, what's the process for training these dogs?
Well, the dogs are the long part because we have to let them grow up and mature simultaneously, but the dogs are also the easy part, if you will. So it's training the person, helping the person change habits that they've had for a very long time, helping the people get rid of unhealthy coping mechanisms that they've developed, and teaching them simultaneously how to use the dog in place of those less effective coping mechanisms that they've been trying. And also sometimes teaching people how to be dog handlers, because some people have had many dogs in their lives. Some people are kind of natural dog handlers, and some people just on the handling and how to talk to them part take more practice. So we always say the people are the hard part.
Well, I mean, that's really quite amazing what you're doing, and I know it's very impactful for the people that are receiving these dogs.
Yes.
Where do the dogs come from? Do you guys breed them, or do you prefer like a specific breed, or what? And why is that, if so?
Yes. So you're hitting on some of the controversial topics now. I like to tell my students, this is 2 full lectures for my students. So I like to boil it down to the Reader's Digest version for you. We do purpose breed the dogs. Again, within our industry, there's different ways of doing it, but purpose breeding is very popular because it gives us the best return on investment, if you will. I feel very strongly that we are funded by people's generosity and their belief in our mission. So our job is to give the highest return on investment possible. And the way we measure that is how many dogs that we're being paid to be trained go into active service. So that graduation rate. So we breed the dogs from industry lines. Sometimes service dog organizations, we have a breeding co-op and we'll share dogs with really strong genetics that have produced good dogs. So we're kind of helping everyone. We do have our own lines as well. And so we're constantly trying to tweak, okay, this match gave us dogs that weren't as confident. So we're not going to do that one again. How are we going to fix it? You know, the age-old nature and nurture that we're never going to get 100% right. And for us, we do golden retrievers, Labrador retrievers, and then crosses of the two, 50-50 or 75-25. Those work the best for our training style, but then also you're going to see those same breeds used a lot throughout the industry because of their natural instincts that the breeds were produced for, which are working closely with humans, looking for direction, going out and doing work, like originally was hunting, right? But they have the stamina to work. They have the soft mouths for retrieving items without damaging or breaking them. They're friendly, they're affectionate, they're pretty soft. They're not independent. They're pretty dependent on human direction and interaction, which is what we want for our work. People often tell me, like, they say it like they're breaking some bad news to me, but they're like, you know, those aren't the smartest dogs, right? I'm like, thank goodness they're not, because we teach them, you know, how to open the refrigerator and get medicine out. So my fridge could be empty at any given time, but my sweet labs aren't smart enough to think about opening the fridge unless they hear the command, right? So we need that perfect mixture of like smart enough to learn, but dumb enough to listen. That's kind of what we're going for.
Yeah. I know some people like that too. So
we won't name any names.
Yeah. Well, no shade.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, obviously your dogs are not your average family member. You know, you're not your average family pet, but they're more of like a purpose trained companion for that. So for someone that is looking for a service dog in your industry as a service dog breeder, what should they watch out for? Are there any things that you would recommend for somebody that that may not be able to get in touch with you directly? Or
yeah, absolutely. So there is an international accrediting body in our industry called Assistance Dogs International, and it is a coalition of service dog organizations who are peer reviewed to meet and exceed standards, not only on how we treat our dogs, but also how we treat our clients, confidentiality, our staff, you name it, and there's a standard and a measurement for it. So if people want to seek out an organization, I would always recommend that they go and seek out an accredited organization, because it has, if you will, the analogy of the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. A third party has kind of done an audit, and we have those audits every 5 years, and says that things are being done well and responsibly. Because unfortunately, with the popularity of service dogs, with the expense of service dogs and the fact that the demand exceeds the supply, there are many organizations and or private individuals who are not accredited, who may not be doing things in the best interest of recipients, who may be taking advantage of that demand. Whereas if an organization is accredited, there would be consequences if we were doing things poorly or not treating people well. Taking their money and then not giving them a qualified dog, for example, is something that unfortunately goes on if you just Google service dog and then go from there. So I'm a really big proponent of accreditation. Most other industries, it's well known that you have to be accredited or board certified or certified in some way. So I really believe in that for our industry as well. So that's where I would steer people to start their research, so that they at least have a good basis upon which to compare and contrast.
So you're saying that just anybody can train a service dog. At the moment, there's no sort of certification required by law or anything like that.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, so, you know, with that being said, you guys are obviously accredited and everything like that. You're a certified organization. You're also a nonprofit organization as well. What's the future of your organization? What do you all hope to achieve or accomplish in the future?
So we just finished a large-scale renovation to our campus. So we're located just outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. And we just completed a renovation of a building that will now be opening as a dormitory. So what that will do is allow us to open a whole new additional program where we can select applicants whose needs are more in-depth, whose symptoms are more severe, and who need more of holistic continuity of care approach. And they will actually be able to come and stay on our campus for 90, 180 plus days and go through daily programming that is multifunctional. So not just the service dog aspect, but also other approaches like trauma-informed yoga and fitness, and maybe some professional development that they're seeking for their goals. And they're going to make a RAP plan and figure out what their goals are, and then we will help them to get there. So we're going to be able to help a demographic who previously was perhaps too severe in their needs to fit our current kind of come and go training model. So we're really excited about being able to add that, because it's taking a very at-risk population, particularly people who are at risk for potentially committing suicide, and maybe giving them another option that's not available anywhere else.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, earlier when you mentioned that, I believe you said like 3 days a month for 6 months.
Right.
I think that's much more in depth, and I mean that's a really cool program. Did I hear you say yoga for dogs?
There's actually ways that people can go through certifications to be instructors for trauma-informed yoga. So the yoga is for the person, but the dog is there. But we also do puppy yoga. Have you seen goat yoga where like the goats run around while you're doing it? Yeah, here in Wilmington, we have several sponsors who host puppy yoga. So our puppies go and just like free for all while people are doing downward dog. And like, it's the most fun, laughter-filled yoga, non-silent yoga class you've ever been to. Yeah.
I love that people are trying anything on the internet, right?
Trying anything. Anything's a fundraiser, you know? You got to do it.
I love it. I love it. So do you all cater mainly to people here in North Carolina, or do you guys also service owners elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually accept applications nationwide. We do have clients who come to us from the West Coast, come to us from the Southwest. We do have a heavier concentration of clients from the Southeast just because of ease of access for them. But we are equally accepting and considering of applications from across the country.
Awesome. So how can people get involved with your organization, and what is your guys' immediate need? What do you guys need right now, aside from your actual applicants? I mean, what does the organization need as well?
We are always seeking volunteers. We have people who come and help us take care of the puppies on site while they are being raised and trained, as well as meeting us out in the community at public settings when we take puppies on outings. We're also always looking for people with different professional backgrounds and talents to offer who might be willing to offer their skills pro bono to us. That could be anything from graphic design to legal advice to medical professionals to serve on our PMET, which is our team of professionals who interact with clinicians from our clients' medical providers. So we always have that continuity of care between our team and our clients' medical providers to make sure that we're always doing no harm and doing what's best for them. So be surprised the amount of disciplines that we can use help from if someone is willing to dedicate a consistent amount of their time and make a commitment. We're also always looking for corporate sponsors, of course, and any other creative ideas. And hopefully some people might want to enroll in our classes at UNCW.
Well, Misfits, go check them out. I really think that's what they're doing is fantastic, and I'm really excited about the in-house training that you guys are planning on doing in the future as well.
Thank you.
If somebody does want to check out Pause for People, where can they find more information about you? Do you guys have social media or a website, or where can we check you out at?
Yes, we're on all the social media platforms at pause4people and pause4people.org. You can sign up, look into dogs, look up researching for volunteering, or if you know someone who could potentially benefit as a client, all the information's on our website. But you have to use that numeral 4.
Okay, awesome. Well, Misfits, go check out their website. They've got a lot of great information on their site. I was looking at it earlier, and it's very in depth. I mean, I like what you guys are doing. I really
Thank
think
you.
that I think it's a definitely a needed thing that I think can probably go overlooked a little bit.
Definitely. We appreciate the opportunity to let people know more about it. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So we're getting towards the end of the episode, and at the end of every episode, I ask all my guests one question, and it's in two parts. And I like to spring it on people like they're deer in the headlights. So here we go.
Okay.
What was the last goal that you completed, and what's the next goal that you want to set for yourself?
Interestingly, one of my goals for the new year was to see if we could be on podcasts to spread our message on the new platform. So thank you so much for checking that off the list, still in January. And next goal is our big one of having our first client stay in the dormitory and figuring out how to use our commercial kitchen and how we're going to feed everybody and all the things that we've never had to do before, because it's going to be a little uncomfortable, and uncomfortable is how you know that the business is still growing and doing well. So it'll be a fun year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, that sounds exciting. Now, are you guys going to do like a test run or anything like that?
Yes, we have had a small pilot cohort already that tested things out. Found a few issues, as they should, and we're excited to kind of bring in a larger group and test it a little further.
But all smiles overall, though, right?
Yeah, you have to be. I mean, I'm so grateful. I'm sitting in buildings on a campus that I never thought we would have when it was my dad and I, just with a house full of too many dogs. I won't tell you how many. So every day is a good day. I think our max was 9 personally at one time, because we acquired some for breeding. So you gotta have them to make them. So it was an adventurous time, but
that's not too many. Well, it's really been a pleasure speaking with you. I really appreciate your time. I think, again, like I said, what you guys are doing is a definite need, and I think it is really going to affect a lot of people for the positive. So I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast. Is there anything else that you wanted to get out there? Any events you got coming up or anything like that?
If anyone is in the coastal North Carolina area or plans to visit, we almost always have some community events going on. Those are on our calendar on our website. But our big signature event is a derby party on Kentucky Derby Day here in Wilmington. And our fun aspect is that we always have puppies run a puppy derby before the horses run a horse derby. So I would welcome people to look it up and join us if they need a little getaway to the beach.
Well, there you go. Go check them out. I think you can't beat puppies. You can't beat puppies.
Makes for a good day.
Well, thanks again for coming on to this show. I really appreciate your time, and this has been a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking to you. So, Misfits, again, please go check out Kyria, and pauseforpeople.org is the website. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this guy up. Thanks again, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Well, Misfits, we did it. That's our episode. I want to thank you so much for listening, and thanks again to our sponsors. If you want to support any of our sponsors, there are affiliate links on the sponsors tab of our website at www.misfit-heroes.com. You can also find links to all of our social media there, so follow us for immediate up-to-date info about the podcast. Please, Misfits, if you enjoyed this podcast and you want to help me out, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button down below so you're notified of new episodes as they're released, and make sure to leave a rating and review of the show on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Truly, Misfits, I love you. Thank you so much for listening. And until the next episode, be kind, love one another, and be a hero.